So I am moving towards headstand, but when I say moving towards, there are going to be several videos before we get there. If you want to, you can jump to the video about the headstand and actually doing it, but it's not on my, this is January 2023, it's not on my YouTube channel yet. If you want somebody slick in fancy yoga pants in a fancy studio, this is probably not the video for you. This is me actually teaching, and teaching from my experience of yoga from when I was 9 years old, which is over 50 years ago, actually. So headstand. Headstand is the king, called the king of yoga poses, and for good reason. It's very beneficial. However, one needn't do headstand. So quite a lot of people get caught up in the ambition of doing headstand when they haven't actually mastered the preparatory poses. And in case you think that's me telling anybody off, that was me. I thought, headstand, king of all poses, gonna go for it. And it's so easy to hurt your neck when doing the headstand. So what I'd like to do is slowly explain and work towards working on the back so that we can see what will help most as we prepare. So if we can come to our mats. And I've got the chair there for a reason, because we might need it. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to begin to simply bring the knees to the chest, okay? And pull them in, okay? So this is all preparatory work, chin to chest and knees to chest. And you can rotate those ankle joints, okay? And then continue pulling in, take them slightly wide so that they compress onto the ascending colon on the right and the descending colon on the left. Okay, and then straighten up the legs a little, holding on behind the legs. So notice I'm not straightening the knees, I'm being very generous in the knee bend. And I can continue to do ankle rotations like so. Good, and then I'd like you to do some gentle bicycling where we're not bringing the heels down very far. And then if that feels okay, but only if that feels okay, do the more extreme cycling where the knees almost come to the head and the heels almost touch the ground. And then we do backwards cycling, first of all, gently. See how high the heels are off the ground. That's trying it out. And you can stay just doing that if you like, that's fine, that's good. Or again, with the backwards, you could try to heels along the floor, knees towards the chest, like so. Even more extremes, backward cycling. Good, and then pull in again. So remember, this is a gas ejector, wind relieving pose. Pulling in, pressure up against the abdominal area. And technically, we're not supposed to eat a heavy meal before yoga, at least 2 hours before, or 3 hours before yoga. Light meal maybe 2 hours before yoga. But I know that's difficult for many people. I often try to do yoga in the morning before I have breakfast, and later in the evening, and maybe eat a light meal at 5 o'clock and eat my main meal at midday. That's kind of perfect for doing evening yoga. So we're now just swinging from side to side, and then hold on to the knees and do those big circles. Big knee circles, very soothing and relaxing into the back. And you may think, well, why are we doing this work when I want to get towards the headstand? Because it's a bit like, why are we, I don't know, stretching and going to the gym using weights if we're trying to run a marathon? Or can't we just run? We're actually trying to prepare the body. Takes slow and patient work. So one of the reasons is because we're going to try to go towards the plough position, which requires a nice, supple, flexible back. Okay, and then opening up again, this time seeing if you can reach the toes. If you can't reach the toes, shins or knees. Okay, relaxing into that. Lovely, so that's almost a beginning of the plough position. And the next stage for beginning the plough position is to go into pose of tranquility, which is the legs parallel to the floor above you. And we do that by swinging into it. But first I want to see if you can do the swings. So cross, did you see cross the ankles over, hold on to the toes and simply roll backwards and forwards. How does that feel? Does that feel okay? And then you can, at one end of the roll, put your hands behind your lower back. And can you see I've got my legs almost parallel to the floor. My chin is tucked in, so technically don't start looking at the screen, just look upwards through the head, through the legs. Keep your head nice and steady, breathing into that. And that is probably as far as we're going to go today, because all I want you to do is get a sense of beginning to go towards the plough, halasana, and the plough is when the feet, the toes touch the ground behind you. That may never happen, so you may need to put your feet on a bench or on your sofa, resting them comfortably on the bench or the sofa, okay? And then you can see how we're slowly going towards the shoulder stand, because eventually when we can do the plough, we can get that neck position right and the back position right. We can then start to raise the legs. We're not doing it necessarily today. I mean, you could go upwards to maybe about there, just gently trying it out. So we've done a nearly plough, the pose of tranquility. Technically in the pose of tranquility, you can grab hold of your ankles and hold the position. It has to be said, I have no idea why anybody calls this the pose of tranquility. Don't find it particularly tranquil myself. There you go. And then, because that's halfway towards the plough, that's good. We're steadily heading in the right direction. And then let's go halfway towards the shoulder stand like so. So not a full shoulder stand, but comfortable. And again, please ignore the fact that I turn to look and check the video that the position is right, because technically we're not allowed to move the neck once we're in position. The chin is to the chest, the neck vertebra are looked after and well protected. And we're breathing into that. Looking up through the thighs to the heavens. Oh, and don't worry about thigh gap and any of that stuff. Just looking upwards. Looking upwards. Comfortably breathing into it. Okay, and that's probably enough for now. We can come down back into pose of tranquility 1. If you want, pose of tranquility 2. If you wondered how I did that, because when you let go of your arms, you fell over. It's, if you watch, it's a quick movement. I get my hands to my ankles before I fall over. Quick movement. If you want to do it slowly, it's one hand at a time. Hold on to the ankle on one side, then hold on to the ankle on the other side. Still pretty swift movement. Okay. And you might notice the more that I hang around here, the closer the toes are coming to the ground, but I'm not forcing anything, because I certainly don't want to damage spine, neck vertebra, cause myself headaches. Okay. And then we're going to slowly come out of it. So to come out of it, take the hands to the ankles, rub behind the legs, slowly roll, slowly, and then put the feet on the floor and just gently take the knees from side to side. Okay, so you might find that this makes you feel really impatient, but we haven't got anywhere near the headstand. Yeah, we haven't yet. We're taking it gently. We're being kind to ourselves. We may never get to the headstand, and that's no big deal. But I will do videos where we do get to the headstand for people who have the flexibility and have prepared the body appropriately. Okay, and then let's just rest with the soles of the feet together. Pausing, resting. And as you rest there in the supine cobbler, Supta Baddha Konasana, just check, push through the head, lift the shoulders up and move them away from the head, chin towards the chest. Check that you feel fairly comfortable. And can you see the area just above the shoulder blades, where sort of the midpoint in the shoulder blades up to the beginning of the neck vertebra? That's one of the most vulnerable areas for the shoulder stand and for the plough. And it tends to be quite weak. And when people go up into the headstand, that area can actually give way, doesn't have the strength to support the headstand properly. You may not know it at the time, but it can cause difficulties over time. So always very cautious. In my own public classes, I don't teach the headstand because there's people at all different levels. Some of my students have learned it one-to-one from me, and they can do it at the end of the session before we do the relaxation. But I would actually consider it quite dangerous to just explain it to a general class of mixed ability. Okay, resting there for a moment, and then bring one knee up to meet the other knee, roll over on into the fetal position, pause. And straighten out into the Cleopatra pose, and lift, and lift, and lift, and lift that foot, that top foot. So you're lying on your side now, and your top leg is going up and down. Okay, and then turn that leg and take it up higher. Don't worry, you can do a generous knee bend if you wish. Rotate the ankle joint a bit more if you wish. Okay, and then release down. Pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Lovely. And then again, just doing a little bouncing. Few inches away from the other foot with that top foot. Leg more or less straight. Okay, and then bend the knees again, roll over, and we'll do the other side the same. And this particular work is helpful for when the legs are in position. We need more leg strength. We need all the areas of the leg to be strong for both the shoulder stands and the headstand. So, first of all, let's rest in the fetal position. Resting is always nice. Hands tucked under the head, knees bent, thing to do for a moment. And then I'd like you to push with the hands, come up to the Cleopatra position. And again, this time the other leg, which is on top, lifts up and down. And then some ankle rotations, if you wish, as you wait. With the knee pointing forward. And then turn the foot and lift some more. That's working the inner muscles here. And when you turn the foot, toes towards the screen, that's working the side along here. And then you can come down and do little bouncy movements. bouncy, bouncy, bounce, and you'll really feel it here. You don't often use those muscles there. Okay, bend the knee a little. And then bend both, roll over and come up. And then just like to do the gentle mermaid pose. So the mermaid is both of the feet are together, and we don't really have even seat. So if you have problems with a sacroiliac joint, you know, there's the joint that looks like an inverted triangle in your pelvis at the back in the middle, and it has dimples, those little dimples in your lower back. If that area, if you often get pain around there, I wouldn't do the mermaid because it's rather unsteady, but you can try to even out your seat. Okay, and then I'd like you to look down at your knees, and we're going to go round to the way away from your feet. So breathing out and away and looking behind you. Little mermaid. Breathing into that. And I'm just ensuring that the lower back area is actually doing a little twist, not too strong. Breathing out, coming to the front, and then turning to the other side. So one foot is in front of the other, and we have the other foot resting on the instep, and then the knees coming quite close together, like the little mermaid. And then we go around the other side. So it's very hard to keep the spine straight in this pose. So that's why we don't go round too far, because the discs will be compressed slightly out of alignment. So we go around a little way, dropping the shoulders, breathing out, breathing in. Comfortably. So just check around lower back, lower pelvis. Is there any pain? Does that feel unstable or unsteady for you? Because truly some of the twists do exacerbate sacroiliac joint and lower back problems if your areas there are very unstable. I will do a video for stabilizing the lower back and the sacroiliac joints together. Okay, breathing in, coming round to the front. And I'd just like you to put the soles of the feet together so that we're doing the seated cobbler. A little butterfly first of all. Gentle work. So you might have noticed that I'm not into particularly doing vigorous yoga. I can, but you know, I'm in my 60s, and I think also my students now are in their 50s upwards. The young people go to gym classes of yoga, fast and sweaty. But you know, originally I was taught in a way that the yoga poses, they're very magical, wrong word, but something like that. And to slowly get into a yoga pose and hold it and let the magic work on you is really deep yoga. So just breathing into fairly comfortable cobbler pose. Technically, you can open out the soles of the feet, but if that's too hard, don't worry. And one of the tricks about the cobbler is that often people slump. So trying to have the shoulders back, rib cage lifting away from the pelvis, and of the head lifting upwards. Breathing into this lovely pose. Comfortable, relaxed. Lovely. We're not doing forward bends here because we've already done some quite strong forward bends. I'd like you to stretch the legs out for a moment and just place the hands beside the hips into this very traditional pose. And I'll show you it side on as well. Often called the stick pose. And the extreme pose is to then push through your hands and lift your legs straight up off the floor, parallel to the floor. I don't think that's going to happen in a hurry. I can do it, but only for a second or two. And fortunately, we don't have to worry about it. But you can probably see my spine's not doing particularly well here. So let's roll the shoulders back, lift the crown of the head upwards, toes towards us. If that hurts anywhere, bend the knees a little. Be generous, kind body. Staff pose. Stick pose. Comfortable. Might be a bit of a strain here on the lower back. And because we've done so much work here on the lower back, I would like to come out of that pose up into kneeling and make sure you're not on a hard floor or a thin carpet for kneeling. I always like people to be well padded kneeling, and I've got 2 yoga mats, 2 blankets, so that I'm nice and padded. I'll move over here so you can see me clearly. Okay, so we're just upright kneeling. These are my new yoga pants from Sweaty Betty's. Very nice. Very comfortable. Bought them yesterday. Feels like a plug. It feels like the Truman Show. These are yoga pants from Sweaty Betty's. Right, and from the upright kneeling pose, I take the hands into the lower back quite firmly. Okay, can you see? Very firmly there. And then we're gently, gently, gently doing the counter poses for those half ploughs and half shoulder stamps. So if you feel, ooh, it means that we did go quite far enough in the work we did earlier. That's it, just breathing, breathing, breathing into it, pushing the pelvis slightly forward. I'm feeling here, this is my vulnerable area, feeling here that you may not wish to go very far forward. Keep supporting with the hands, okay? Looking up, opening the throat area, so the thyroid and parathyroid glands in the throat, the voice box. Nice long stretch. The back of my head is kind of resting on the top of my back. If you feel the strain of that in the neck, obviously just look forward. So this nice, gentle back bend counter pose. Nothing too mega. And while you're there, you might want to make a fist of the hands and rub gently into that lower back area, comfortably and slowly. Should feel nice and soothing. You can also do it with wide hands. And then the reason I've got the chair here today is the relaxation is really going to help this lower area. So when you feel you've done enough of that, coming back up to straight upright kneeling. And then only for those who feel comfortable, whose knees are good, we can go down to sit on our ankles. If you know your knees are a little bit iffy, don't come down, stay where you are. Okay. And for those whose knees just don't like any of this, sit on a chair for a minute. So pausing, breathing, again, shoulders rolling back a little. Pausing, breathing, nice and comfortable. And let's breathe in and breathe out before we go into the final relaxation. Pause, close the eyes. May I be kind to myself this day. May I be gentle and kind even to those critical voices in my head. The ones that are not so kind to me. And remember, it's hard, very hard to be human. We're incredibly complex. very multi-layered, as we all know. And then we can relish the idea that we're now going into the deep relaxation. So all I want you to do is find your sofa or your chair and put the lower legs onto the chair. And if you have a cushion on the chair, you can lift up the lower back and place the cushion comfortably into the back, chin to chest, shoulders away from the head. And that's so relaxing. It's one of the deep rejuvenating poses in yoga. It's one of the Viparati Karani poses. One of the other similar ones is to put the legs straight up a wall, like so. But I tend to love this one. This is so rejuvenating. And allow the breathing to quieten down, the body to be breathed. And you might like to scan around the body. Which area of the body is saying, maybe that was a bit much, or maybe I need to be careful on some of those poses. Pull back a little. Yoga is the complete antithesis of no pain, no gain. In yoga, if there is pain, something's going wrong, pull back, ask for help, ask for guidance. Or maybe just don't do that pose for a while. Letting go. A moment of simply being. This moment here, in this place, in this room. And we're absolutely, absolutely okay as we are. Let's rest in acceptance, warmth and tenderness towards this body, this emotional being that we are in this moment, this mind that we are in this moment. No struggle, letting go. And if that feels really nice, stay there. Don't come out of it, even though I'll be beginning to come out of it soon. Because the Viparati Karani sequences, any of these poses, they're really nice to stay in for 5, 6, 8, 10 minutes. Deeply healing. And I used to tease my students that they could come home and get into this pose, lower legs resting on a sofa, stay there for half an hour, and then say, oh yeah, I did half an hour's yoga this evening. And we'd all laugh. But actually, how wonderful that would be if we could have half an hour in a deeply healing pose like this. And it's so lovely. I don't want to come out of it at all, but I'm going to come out of it and I'm going to end the video. But if you're happy there, please do stay. No rush. So for those of you who want to come out as well, possibly reluctantly like me, just moving the knees towards the chest so that your feet are on the end of the sofa, so that you can roll over onto one side and use your arm strength to come up, pausing for a moment, closing the eyes for a moment, and then breathing in, breathing out. Hands in Namaste at the heart. And thank you. See you next time.